In a time where everything is fast-paced and we rarely get time to reflect and grow as people, this channel's ethos is to help us do this while promoting that walk with Christ. So join me, beautiful people, and let's grow together.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This is the fullness of Philly. Happy New Year. This is like 2 weeks into the new year, so I hope you guys have had a wonderful time and celebrated and everything. You know, work hard but enjoy harder. And let's go straight into it. I've got 5 tips to increase or build better friendships. I'm particularly focusing on friendships because I feel like friendships are one of the greatest loves out there. Like many of relationships, they come and they go, but friendships, if you're able to sustain the right ones, can be lasting, loving relationship because the intentions are mainly pure to some extent, but you know, they should be pure. Number 1, we're gonna go into similarities. Now this you can't force. This is just like the basics of how you think, how you guys think. In relationship terms, we usually call this like romantic relationships I'm talking about. We usually call this chemistry, where you have a spark with James more than you do with Kieran. In friendships, it works the same way. You may have a spark with Sally more than you have with Samantha, and that's fine. It's just the way life is. It's just the way, maybe you grew up in the same area, maybe you just have similar likes, you know, in certain areas, and that's fine. It's just natural. But that's one of the very foundations to sustaining a long relationship. You have to have similar things you're interested in. You can't force this though. So I mean, if you force it and it works out, eventually you will just find the relationship dissolves because there just was not enough to sustain it. Number 2, this is in no particular order, guys, though. In number 2 is loyalty. Loyalty is so big in friendships, in relationships in general. It's something because it's like you owe me something, seen as we have decided to have this level of companionship. Usually what people are scared of in relationships and friendships is you say something too much. You know, in the beginning, actually, when you don't really know the person, your brain is more like, oh yes, I'm making a new friend, this is wonderful, but can I trust this person? If I say something too much, would they go and tell my business to somebody else? Well, can I trust them? Or if girls come into the room, are they going to switch up on me? Will they sell me out before somebody else? So do I want to talk too much? Loyalty is broad, but it's also very subtle. Why I say it's broad is because it varies from person to person. For one person, loyalty could be a very strong element in their requirements to be their friend. While for somebody else, loyalty ain't nothing. Like, I don't really need that from you. We're just here to have conversation. Or they don't need it to the extent that the other person may need it. It's also very subtle as well, because sometimes people watch the little things. Have you ever had something where I don't really trust this person, but I can't put my finger on why? I don't know why. That's because typically the person has shown you something in subtle movements, maybe in the way they interact with their other friends, or maybe the way they talk about their other friends, or maybe it could be that you told them something about yourself and you saw a hint of a smirk and you're thinking, wow, is this my true friend? Or is this somebody that I can really trust and will be loyal to me completely? But I urge you guys to, look out for the signs. However, this has to be over time. You can't just see something one time, or somebody makes a mistake and you just write them off like they can never be loyal to you. Sometimes things are just mistakes. If it happens repeatedly, that's when you have to keep your eyes opened, but mistakes happen. So number 3 now, we go into transparency. Everybody says, I want to be transparent. Can we be transparent? Oh, they know what transparency is, but transparency is so difficult in relationships. It's not so difficult, but it can be so difficult for people who struggle to open up, for people who struggle to trust, for somebody who may have found that their friend is not as loyal to them. They may not want to open up or be that transparency, because in relationships, vulnerability is a thing. You have to be vulnerable and be willing to drop your guards and trust somebody for you to know that this is a strong relationship. It lasts a period of time, but for you to know that it's a strong relationship, you have to be transparent and communicative, communicate in that relationship. And if there's no, or a lack thereof, or a limitation or misunderstanding, and you have not communicated, it can be very hard, because we've got two different people who see the world in two separate ways. They may have similar traits, but they have experienced life differently. So you can't expect everyone to think the same way. And that's why transparency is very important. But I understand it may be difficult. So what we do, in terms of if we've never really been so transparent with, our friends, and we're trying to build that relationship, is, you start small. This is how I felt. You hurt my feelings in this instance, and you see how they handle it. You see how they respond. I always urge that if you feel as though someone is dismissing or they're not understanding your pain, you should focus on it. Make sure that the person understands that this is an issue for you. Don't just brush it off, because when we store stuff inside is when we eventually burst because humans can't really do that and be 100% real. For a friendship to be strong, you have to be willing to be vulnerable, transparent, communicative, and really work things out. So you can't just throw it away when things get tough. I also believe in the times of when you guys are laughing, are in a good place, you should plan for, not plan, but prepare for troubles, if that makes sense. Don't just say, oh, I'd never leave you, you're my best friend, you're the only thing that is, I could not imagine myself leaving you, because you don't know what could happen. Life comes at us quick and hard, right? And you never know, you could be in a situation where your best friend has supposedly said something about you, and you're thinking, this is a big, deep level of betrayal. I can never speak to this person again. So I say that in the times where you guys are in good times, everything is blossoming in your relationship, that's when you speak about how you guys would act if we are in a situation where we're not speaking, and how we can resolve that. So you plan for the future, so the future doesn't come and blindside you. You could say, well, I may need about 2 days space, and then we can try and sort things out. Because if you don't have this kind of communication, this clear communication in that time where you're, happy and smiling and loving each other in the relationship, in the friendship, you can be at risk of losing a good friendship because of miscommunication, and it happens daily. And sometimes people are not willing to solve the situation because pride, it could be anger, jealousy, and they're just not ready to communicate. And when it could be that when one person wants to communicate, the other person doesn't want to communicate. So it's deeper than the surface. So that's why I urge us to have those conversations early, before the storm, the problems happen in the future. Because in any relationship, any friendship, any romantic relationship, anything, there's always going to be the situation where you guys have a ruffle or tuffle or kind of argument, you're going at it kind of thing. And if it's not dealt with appropriately, it can easily lead to a crack or a relationship dysfunction where you are not able to, even if you remain friends, you're not as close as you were before, because of the lack of communication and understanding. Next point is understanding. I think I'm on my fourth one now. Understanding is vital, guys. It's vital. You have to understand your friend, because one person may be the type of person where if they're going through stuff in life, they don't really want to speak about it until they've processed it for themselves. So then we need some time. Whereas you could be that friend that you always, if you're my friend, I need you to be around me. I need you to love me. I need you to be in my space. My love language is acts of service, and you want to help your friend. You want to be there for your friend. But if your friend needs space, then it's better to give them space. For a lot of these things, it takes a lot of maturity to work through it. And that's why a lot of relationships crack, even though you guys have so many similarities, you guys are so good together, but because of not understanding, because of immaturity in certain aspects, the relationship cannot survive the test of time. Because even sometimes your friends could be in situations where they are no longer in deep communication with you. Definitely communicate verbatim your feelings, but sometimes your friends still need that space. They still need to have whatever time they need for themselves. And if you're not able to give it to them, it can cause a crack in the relationship. You may start to think they're a bad friend, and they may start to think, wow, does this person not understand that I need my space? When I am in a situation, I shut down. Some people are like that, and some people are overly communicative. You have to know the type of friend you have, address the issue, and give them the time. Sometimes some people just need some of that. Everything varies from friend to friend. You should know that understanding is a key point. Knowing your friends individually is a key point. And the last thing is having your friends' best interest at heart. Now, make sure that this is reciprocated, guys. But as a good friend, it's important to have your friend's best interests at heart. When people feel as though on a continuous basis that this person has my best interests at heart, they tend to drop their guards down. They tend to trust you more. They tend to leave things in your hands a lot more, because they trust you and your decision for them. They trust that you care for them, not just saying it out your mouth, but you really care for them. And this goes back to other things like loyalty. It's all intertwined, but I had to say your best interest, because once somebody feels as though you have their best interest at heart, they act better. They work to reciprocate in that relationship. So guys, those are just 5 tips. They're very important in making and growing a strong relationship. They can actually even be applied to your romantic relationships, your family relationships, your sister relationships, your brother relationships, because we are humans, and we work in similar ways. When we feel loved and appreciated and cared for, we open up, we let our guards down. Some people, like I said at the beginning, some people you just have natural chemistry where it's just more natural, it flows naturally. But it can be built. It can all be built. It can all be built with time. And do not, like, if you see something where you feel as though that somebody is not putting their all into the relationship, address it. Don't store things up, because I promise you that never helps in terms of building a strong foundation for your relationship and maintaining it and sustaining it. And also, if you see something that you're not quite sure about, you feel like this may be disloyal, address it. If it happens again, if it's a repeated thing, that's when you have to reassess your situation and decide what you want to do going on. Don't just say, oh wow, I see something that can be disloyal, and then cut the person off, because again, people are flawed and it may not be what you think it is. So don't be so quick to be judgmental or quick to analyze that situation without having your proper facts. All right, guys, those are just 5 tips. I'm going to see you in my next video. I love you guys so much. And yes, grow your relationships, grow your friendships. I want us to have striving relationships, because I know that relationships are really what keep us going. We are human beings who are we love communication, we love socializing, we love that. Even if some of us are more reserved, even if some of us are more out there, we all love elements of communication, because it's what keeps us going, it's what keeps us alive. It releases a stress from us that we may not really understand, but it does. When you have people to go out with, when you have people to laugh with, when you have people to talk about things with, it is a stress relief. So maintain your good relationships and make them grow. All right, guys, I love you guys so much. Mwah. See you in my next video. Oh, and like and comment and subscribe.